grade 11 students. Welcome back to another exciting lesson about Earth and Life Science. The content of this module focuses on the concepts of rock layer formation and its correlation. Every rock layer is, for the most part, one of various parallel rock layers that lies upon another, which exhibits specific or similar characteristics. Since the concept about rocks and its types were discussed in the previous lesson, this module serves as a continuation of how rocks produce strata of what they may become once they are separated from its original rock layer. It also involves the possibilities of knowing the relative age of each rock layer due to the presence of fossils it contains. Our topic today, Lesson 11, Formation of Rock Layers. After going through this module, you are expected to describe how layers of stratified rocks are formed, describe the different laws of stratigraphy, determine how geologists correlate rock layers, reflect on human environmental practices that may contribute to the alterations on the Earth's surface, particularly the rock layers, and illustrate an outcrop of rock layers applying the law of stratigraphy. Are the current features of the Earth the same as they were 4.6 billion years ago? Well, the answer is no. The Earth had undergone geological alterations and evolutionary processes that changed its features. The exogenic and endogenic processes that happened in the surface and within the inner portion of the Earth may contribute to these alterations that occurred. The rocks are being studied by geologists because they contain clues of what the Earth had been in the past. In this module, the formation of rock strata will be determined, including the order of rock layers, the manner on how rock layers are formed or deformed due to physical factors, and the age of rocks using the relative and absolute dating method. If you will be given a cake for your birthday, how many layers do you wish to have? How many flavors do you want? What will be the order of flavor in each layer? If you apply pressure on cakes, it will be deformed, flattened, or twisted. Just like the layers in the cake, rocks can also form layers due to sediments deposited on rocks or some forces that act on it which causes its deformation. These are forces that may bring alteration to the rock layers or the change in its formation in the Earth's surface. The idea behind the concept that the Earth is billions of years old originated in the work of James Hutton. Hutton concluded that there are forces that changes the landscape of the Earth in the past. This conclusion is based on his observation in the geological processes that were taking place in his farm. His principle of uniformitarianism states that the current geological processes such as volcanism, erosion, and weathering are the same processes that were at work in the past. This idea was refined by other geologists that although the processes of the past and the present are the same, the rates of this process may vary over time. The Earth's history was studied using the different records of past events preserved in rocks. The layers of rocks are like the pages in our history books. This time, let's learn how are rock layers formed. Stratified rocks, also known as derivative rocks, may be fragmental or crystalline. These rocks are products of sedimentary processes. These are made of visible layers of sediments. The formation on rock layers depend on its stratigraphy and stratification. Stratified rocks look like this. They are made up of visible layers of sediments. Stratigraphy is the branch of geology that deals with the description, correlation, and interpretation of stratified sediments and stratified rocks on and within the earth. It is the study of the rock layers or strata. It will give you clues to the location of ancient seas, mountains, plateaus, and plains. Stratification is also known as bedding, which is the layering that happens in sedimentary and igneous rocks formed at the surface of the earth that comes from lava flows or other volcanic activity. It is expressed by rock layers or units of a general tabular or lenticular form that differ in rock type. As early as the mid-1600s, the Danish scientist Nicolas Steno studied the relative position of sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are formed particle by particle, bed by bed, and the layers are piled one on top of the other. These rock layers are also called strata. The laws of stratigraphy can help scientists understand the Earth's past through the study of rock layers or strata. These are general rules or laws that we use to determine how rocks were created and how they change through time. We also use these laws to determine which rock formations are older or younger. These laws are usually credited to a geologist, Nicolas Steno. This includes the following: original horizontality, lateral continuity, superposition, cross-cutting, law of inclusions, and the law of faunal succession. The law of original horizontality suggests that all rock layers are originally laid down or deposited horizontally and can later be deformed. This allows us to infer that something must have happened to the rocks to make them tilted. This includes mountain building events, earthquakes, and faulting. The rock layers on the bottom have been deformed and are now tilted. The rock layers on the top were deposited after the tilting event and are again laid down flat. The law of lateral continuity suggests that all rock layers are laterally continuous and may be broken up or displaced by later events. This can happen when a river or stream erodes a portion of the rock layers. This can also happen when faulting occurs. Faulting causes displacement in rock units. Again, rock layers are the same in both sites. The law of superposition states that beds of rock on top are usually younger than those deposited below. This is logical. Consider a layered cake or stack of books. You can't add another layer unless one already exists to begin with. By understanding the law of superposition, you can make general statements about the ages of these rock units. Cross-cutting relationships also helps us to understand the timing of events. Younger features cut across older features. The intrusion or cross-cutting feature is the youngest present since the layers had to be present before it could cross-cut them. The law of inclusion states that if a rock body or rock B in this figure contained fragments of another rock body or of rock A, it must be younger than the fragments of rock it contained. The principle of faunal succession states that a species appears, exists for a time, and then goes extinct. Time periods are often recognized by the type of fossils you see in them. Each fossil has a first appearance datum and a last appearance datum. This is simply the oldest recorded occurrence of a fossil and then the youngest recorded occurrence of a fossil. Something else that fits into geologic principles and basic stratigraphy or the study of rock layers are unconformities. Unconformities are simply gaps or missing data in the rock record. These gaps could indicate a variety of processes such as erosion, deformation, or change in sea level. It describes a layer of rock that have been deformed or eroded before another layer is deposited, resulting in rock layer mismatching. There are three main types of unconformities: angular unconformities, disconformities, and nonconformities. Angular unconformities are represented by an older group of rock layers has been tilted, eroded, and another younger set of rock layers were deposited on top of this erosional surface. The tilting process is commonly by a mountain building event. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the mountains, but the effects of mountain building processes are long-reaching. The figure shows angular unconformity between the older orange package of rock layers and the younger green package of rock. The curvy line indicates the erosional surface. These conformities are an erosional surface between two sets of rock layers. Unlike with angular unconformities, there is no tilting of the other rock layers. This makes disconformities difficult to recognize because the erosional surface is often very difficult to find. The figure shows a disconformity between the older purple sedimentary layers and the younger orange sedimentary layers. Nonconformities are unconformities that separate different rock types. This is commonly the separation between igneous and sedimentary or metamorphic and sedimentary rocks. These types of unconformities usually indicate that a long amount of time has been eroded away before the younger sedimentary rocks were deposited. The figure shows nonconformities occur between an igneous body and sedimentary rock layers. Let's proceed to the correlation of rock layers. Why do geologists need to correlate rock layers? The history of Earth is preserved in its rock layers. Unfortunately, no single location on Earth has a continuous set of layers due to erosion or seas deposition. Instead, geologists study rock sequences at many different places around the world, measure the depth of the layers, record what kind of rock is in each layer, and see if there are any fossils present. Geologists represent the layers of rock by drawing a picture of the sequence. This is called a stratigraphic column. Geologists need to correlate rocks from one place to another to get more complete record of Earth's history over time. Then, they try to determine the relative age of widely separated strata or rock layers. They use correlation, trying to fit together sedimentary strata in different places, just like a cut-out puzzle. The process of showing that rocks or geologic events occurring at different locations are of the same age is called correlation. Geologists have developed a system for correlating rocks by looking for similarities in composition and rock layer sequences at different locations. The geological technique of correlation provides information that have taken in Earth's history at various times that occurred. There are different methods in correlating rock layers. This includes rock types and its characteristics, such as color, texture, hardness, composition, or its mineral content. The harder and more densely packed the particles are, the older the rock and the deeper the layer it came from. Number 2 is index fossil, also known as guide fossils or indicator fossils. They are fossils used to define and identify geologic periods or faunal stages. Number 3 is bedrocks, a deposit of solid rock that is typically buried beneath soil and other broken or unconsolidated material or regolith, made up of igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic rock, and it often serves as the parent material for regolith and soil. Correlations involve matching a particular rock unit in one exposure with its counterpart at a different locality. By correlating various rock vulnerability separated by great distances, geologic maps can be constructed, and the original geographical extent of the rocks can be estimated. There are two types of correlation: physical correlation and fossil correlation. Physical correlation is accomplished by using number of criteria such as color, texture, and types of minerals contained within a stratum, which make it possible for geologists to classify a particular stratum specifically. Number 2, fossil correlation is a principle that geologists use to determine the age of rock. It uses fossils with unique characteristics, such as geologically short lifespan and easily identifiable features, and use this information to estimate the age of a rock layer in other areas that contain the same type of fossil or group of fossils. There are fossils which are used to date the layers of rock that they are found in. Fossils that can be used in this way are called index fossils, and rock layers with the same index fossils in them can be correlated. Criteria to be considered in identifying index fossils include: the fossilized organism must be easily recognizable, and it must be easy to identify because of its uniqueness. 2. Fossils must be geographically widespread or found over large areas so that it can be used to match rock layers separated by huge distances. Number 3. Fossils must have lived for only a short time so that it appears in only horizontal layer of sedimentary rocks. That ends our lesson today. Congratulations for making it this far. Keep safe by staying at home. See you next meeting. Goodbye.